All right, thank you for that introduction. Okay, so yeah, today we're going to talk about college essay strategies. I have so much information in here. So let's just get started. So first of all, I want to introduce myself. Um, Hello, like like she said, I am a current Stanford student, and I was accepted into 8 out of the 8 schools that I applied to when I applied for college a couple years back. And this included Stanford, USC, UCLA, NYU, and etc. And I did submit art portfolios. So if you have any questions about art portfolios, I'd be happy to answer those. Now my goal is to make the college application process more accessible for all students, because I didn't have a private college counselor or anything. I had my college counselor at my school, but that was it. And so I felt like I needed way more help. And so I really dug into the internet to find everything that I needed to know, read books, and I continued to learn about the college application process so that I can help other people. And my YouTube is Dyllen Nellis, if you don't know. And if you want all of my resources, it's at dylennellis.com/collegeapps. You can contact me at my email. We can get more into that later, but let's go into the content. Oh, wait, one more thing. I do have a college essay course where I, this year, actually built this entire course on how to write a college essay from beginning to end. It's really focused on strategic planning and creating a structure before you actually attempt writing your essay, because that will make it so much easier. And yeah, so all of this is focused on saving you time, keeping you organized, and making sure that you are telling the story that is the most meaningful to you. And if you guys want this course, you can actually get 15% off with the code webinar15, and this expires December 1st. Okay, and okay, how do we write college essays? So first of all, you need to know college essays are nothing like academic high school essays. It's not that 5-paragraph structure, intro with a thesis, evidence 1, evidence 2. It's nothing like that. You are telling a story. And it's honestly like a window to your mind and soul. It's like a personal memoir, a person, first person nonfiction in a book or a newspaper op-ed. You're telling your deepest story. So the main thing that you want to get across is your personal thoughts, feelings, and values and significance of the story you are telling. Because colleges really care about your character and personal qualities, especially this year, since we're in COVID time and there's less emphasis on your scores and more emphasis on getting to know who you are as a person. Okay, I know a lot of people are like, what if I'm writing on a cliche topic? Here's what I say. I truly believe that any topic can be done if it is dealt with creativity, honesty, and in your own unique perspective. So if there's something that's truly, truly impactful for you, but you decide not to write your college essay on it just because everyone else writes it on, I don't think you have to do that. I don't think you need to refrain from telling an impactful story in your life, even if it seems overdone. So one way that you can personalize this common experience is by including very, very, very specific details from your life that can only be applied to you. Because if you think about it, sure, people go through the same experiences. Hello, we are all people. We go through very similar things, learn a lot of similar lessons, but everyone's story is different. Everyone's story has slight differences that are only personal to you. And by putting those very specific details, you can make your essay stand out. So, I do want to say though, that even with this, if you feel like you want to truly, truly stand out, maybe stay away from a cliche topic. So there's definitely multiple sides to weigh when considering that. Okay, emotional intelligence. I'm not going to read everything on the slide because I know it's a lot, but I do want to talk about the importance of this because emotional intelligence is so important. It's the capability to recognize your own emotions and manage them effectively. And by showcasing this in your college essays, it shows to the colleges that you are self-aware and you're mature and you are able to analyze a situation and uncover hidden meanings and underlying problems. So this shows that reflective side of you. And these are just some examples that I listed. I'll just read a couple, like maybe whatever story or problem you're talking about, you realize that you had been trying to paste a like band-aid on the problem rather than attacking it full on. Maybe you were just doing a temporary solution. Maybe you like realize that what you were doing didn't bring you genuine happiness. Maybe you acted in a negative way towards someone because you weren't able to accept a certain reality. A lot of times it's like you think the problem is one thing, but it's actually some like deeper insecurity that's going on. So you kind of gotta psychoanalyze yourself. And that's a lot of emotional work that goes into the college essay process that I don't think a lot of people think about often, but it is so important and will really show the colleges the kind of person that you are. So of course, you don't want to just recognize this problem and be like, this is a problem. Great. You have to actually address it in your essay or talk about how you addressed it, what steps you took to overcome this hurdle or this barrier. Okay. The difference between the ComApp essay and the UC personal insight questions. So you can use one for the other and one for the other one, but they do have very slight differences in the way they should be written. So the ComApp essay, you can be more creative and poetic with your writing. You can get more vulnerable and deep into those like emotional intelligence things I was talking about. And you definitely don't want to just restate what's already in your activities and awards section because they already see that. They want to know who you are on the inside, not just what you do. But UC PIQs are a little bit different. They're way more straightforward. You can expand on an extracurricular activity. In fact, a lot of people actually do that. Like each of their 4 UC PIQs are a different extracurricular activity. It's almost like a glorified resume. And they actually prefer well-roundedness and variety. So like don't make each essay about the same thing. It's nice to show variety, and it's a lot more informational rather than poetic and creative. Except, of course, it all depends on how you write it, and it still needs to be well written. Okay, now let's talk about structure. I know several of you guys asked about structure, and this is the thing that I preach. This is not, first of all, I just have to say, not like a structure that works for everyone, works for every single essay. Tons of other students have done other structures other than this, more creative structures, a thematic structure, but this is one that most essays fall into, whether they realize it or not. So for the Common App, you start usually with an opening anecdote, and then you address the problem or the situation that's going on. Then it turns into your thoughts and feelings. Okay, how are you feeling about that? And really show the process of your mind that leads you to some realization or turning point where you say, oh, okay, I need to take action. So then you take action to address that problem. After you've taken action, you describe the significance of all of that. This should kind of be the bulk, not the bulk, but like they really care about that significance part. And then at the very end, this is kind of optional, but it helps if you are able to then tie it into either your future goals and aspirations, maybe like the area of study you want to go with, or how you applied what you learned into other areas of your life. For the UC PIQs, a lot more straightforward. It's what you did, problems you solved, lessons learned, values gained, the impact you had, and then how you applied what you learned. Now, college essay don'ts. First of all, you don't want to use cliches. This is like the number one, please don't do this because they don't like this. Don't use a cliche phrase or famous quotes or sayings. So a lot of times I do see when I'm editing people's essays, they use a famous quote from like an author or someone significant, which is awesome. I'm sure they have lovely things to say, but colleges actually don't care about what they have to say. They care about what you have to say. So if there is a way that you can craft it in your own words or show your own perspective, that is so much more powerful than using someone else's words, even if you give credit for them. And okay, another one is don't use second person. A lot of times in just like common language, we say you as in like the general everyone, like, oh, you do this, you, But you don't necessarily want to do that for college essays because it needs to always focus on yourself. Not you as in everyone, but you as in you yourself as an individual. So use words like I, me, my, always stay in that first person. And don't use fancy vocab. So I know a lot of times people think, oh, I got to impress them. I got them, need to make sure that they think that I'm super smart. And so they look up on the thesaurus a million different fancy words and flood their essay with superfluous wording. That doesn't work. Not always. Sometimes if you know how to actually use these nice words in a strategic, intentional way, then that's fine. But other times when you're just throwing in huge words here and there, it comes off as very clear that you are just trying to impress them. And what does it do? It doesn't impress them. They say, they're just trying to sound smart. Okay, why us essay? This is what so many of you guys asked about. So I did want to touch on this topic. First of all, what is a why us essay? It is an essay that asks you to explain the reason why you are interested in attending a certain college for a certain program or area of study. So they want to see if you are genuinely interested in going to their school. And an example is USC's essay. For example, it's describe how you plan to pursue your academic interests and why you want to explore them at USC specifically. So how do you go about writing this essay when everyone writes the same things? You have to convince them, first of all. Why do you want to go to this school rather than any other school that exists? What is it about the program, their ideals, their mission, their culture, the location of the school that attracts you? And you have to be extremely specific. This is probably the number one tip I give everyone when editing college essays. I always highlight some phrase and I'm like, this is too general. Be specific, be specific, be specific. Because everyone uses the same phrases, whether you think so or not. Like everyone's like, this college is the perfect place for me. Like, it will allow me to explore my varied interests and have opportunities to grow as a person. And like when they're talking about an internship, they're like real world experience in the field. Or when they're talking about study abroad, everyone talks about study abroad. They're like, oh shoot, what is it? Like something about different perspectives. Oh, immerse myself in a different culture and different perspectives. These are all phrases that everyone says. And I know it's so hard not to say them because it's like, well, that's exactly what I want, right? But you have to figure out a different way that you can say these same things by getting more specific. Another thing is that in order for you to be the right fit for them, you need to show them that they are the right fit for you. Because they want to be confident that if you got accepted, you would commit to their school. And I know some of the schools that we apply to that do have YS essays, you don't actually want to go to. Maybe it's not your top choice, but that doesn't matter. You need to make it seem like they are your top choice. Because if they read your essay and they're like, oh, this is clear that they don't actually care about our school, they're just applying just to apply, then they're not going to want to admit you. So you need to convince them that you are the right fit for them. And they need awesome students like you to brag about. It's a two-way street in this whole college application process. It's not just you going, please, please, please let me in. It's them going, please, please, please get me someone good, because they need someone to brag about. They need these amazing kids to keep their high status. And so just keep that in mind, that it is a two-way street. It's an exchange. It's not just them giving you something. It's you giving them something. Also, this is what I want to mention. My favorite YS essays that I've read are ones that show a clear and confident plan of what classes, programs, clubs, and activities the student intends on utilizing at the school and provides their own ideas of how they would get involved. So an example of this would be like an intended research project. So rather than just saying, oh, I want to do research, Go above and beyond. What kind of research, at what lab, doing what, with what professor, like all those specifics are really important. Or maybe there's a project you want to build. Okay, what resources are you going to use to help you build that project? What teachers are going to use? What different workspaces, materials that they have, programs that they have, or maybe there's fundraising ideas for a club that you want to join. Those are all things that can help you get even more specific. So once they read your essay, they know that you have a clear plan that you can just walk in there and be like, hello, I'm just going to take over the world. This is what I'm going to do at this school. And they love to see that. Another thing about personalizing it. Preparation is a nice thing to add too. So what activities have you participated in or skills you have that prepared you for this college or this major? And you don't need to get too deep into this, but it can add a personal touch in highlighting what you can bring to the school. Personal experience is always nice to touch on too. If you happen to go on a tour or like notice something really specific on their website, or maybe there was a friend who showed you around campus, or maybe you had a conversation with a professor. And what did you learn from this experience and why does it matter? Why does it make you want to go to the school? So you need to show them, or not, you don't need to, but it helps to show them the time and energy you have dedicated toward researching their school and making sure it's the right fit for you. Another thing is you don't want to just restate every amazing opportunity that they already know about themselves. You can talk about the programs, the clubs, the program, major, whatever. Like that's great, but they already know what they have. They know what they have to offer. So it's up to you to tie what they have back into you and your own values and what you intend to do with those opportunities. All right, so that was the YS essay, the step-by-step writing process. So this is kind of my process for writing, which I think is really helpful to make sure that you don't get stuck. And a lot of people will ask about like, oh, what about writer's block? Yeah, this will make sure you don't have writer's block because you're already going to know what you have to write about. And it's just going to be easy. All you're going to do is turn your ideas into words. It's not going to be like you're searching for sentences for words because you already know what comes next. So first thing is bullet point structure. Once you already have a topic and you know what you're going to write about, you need to create a structure. You like literally have to create a structure. Otherwise, your essay will not be as cohesive. You might start in one direction and end up somewhere completely different. It's just a matter of making sure your ideas are perfectly tied together. So create a bullet point structure for your entire essay, everything you're going to talk about in each paragraph. This will save you so much time. I know we often think like, oh, but I'm not writing, so this is wasting time, right? I'm spending time making a structure when I could just be writing my essay. No. I went through this college application process and sometimes I didn't structure my essays. And that was a big mistake because after I wrote it, it was bad. It was not the greatest essay. And I realized that, like I was saying before, you start somewhere, you end up somewhere else, like the lesson kind of morphs. And you realize that maybe this wasn't even the right topic in the first place. So making a structure will help you clear all of those ideas and make sure that you don't end up having to rewrite this essay over and over and over again. I mean, you might have to rewrite it, but at least not as many times. So the next thing after you bullet point structure your whole essay is trash write the whole essay. Trash write to me is where you write the entire essay straight through. Don't care if the language is amazing or whatever, just don't worry about it. Just start turning your words and ideas into sentences and paragraphs. The focus here is also structure because now you're like forming the basis of the essay. That way you can then go back and fix things. The reason you don't want to just, and I did this so many times, write one paragraph and then fix it and then go over it again and fix it again and make sure all the language is like really nice. Then move on to the next paragraph and do the same thing and like perfect it. You waste so much time doing that because by the end, once again, you might realize my structure is off or that idea didn't matter. I didn't need to write about that because my real point was this. So you need to just go through, write the whole thing, then go back and fix everything. And that's what you do in the first draft. You go through and you actually try to make your words sound nice. So how do you make your words sound nice? You can use poetic devices like metaphors. You can show, don't tell, which a lot of people talk about. It's where you, rather than saying like, I had a basketball tournament and we won. It's like the game was, why did I say basketball? I don't know anything about basketball, but it was like we were tied 50-50 or something like that. I don't know. And then the ball started dribbling and I could feel my heart pounding. Like that's showing versus telling. You are actually describing the moment, the experience, what you were feeling in the moment, what you were thinking in the moment, every little thing that happens, only the things that are necessary though. It does take up more word count, but it's so much more engaging. And so you usually use show, don't tell in the opening anecdote. And then after the opening anecdote, you can kind of take a step back and be more telling, but not telling, more like reflective, and talk about the experience, provide the context, etc. You can defamiliarize an image by highlighting its qualities or functions without naming it. Now, what the heck does that mean? For example, in one of my essays, I wrote about my journal. And the first time I said it, I didn't want to say my journal because I wanted to be more creative. So instead, I said an archive of my personal thoughts. So that was a way of saying the same thing, but in a new and interesting way. And so that can also help you not be so repetitive, because a lot of times people will use the same words. And I never like it when people use the same words over and over, because if you're able to rephrase it in a new way, it sounds so much better. So if you describe something, also explain its significance. And then also be creative. How can you tell the story in a new and interesting way? And of course, include your inner thoughts and feelings. The revision process. You have to be aware that your first draft is not your final draft. And this is why you need to start early. You cannot wait until right up until the deadline before you start writing your essays, because there is such a, like, your essay needs to undergo several rounds of revision. You can sleep on it and then wake up the next day with fresh eyes. Revision can last days, weeks, even months, depending on when you start. And what I strongly recommend is making copies of your drafts. Every time you finish a draft, save it, copy it, put it somewhere else. Then make those edits. Then go back and fix things. Then have someone else edit your essay and like add comments and feedback and all that stuff. And then make a new copy and fix all those things. It's nice to make copies so then you can save words and phrases that you accidentally or like you took out during the revision process, and then later you're like, oh wait, but I want to steal that phrase again and put it in right here instead. So that's really handy. I do really strongly suggest having someone else review your essays, like a parent, a teacher, a counselor, or maybe someone you don't even know, or maybe me. You know, I review essays, and you can check out the link right there, because this helps so much gain another perspective and eyes. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, do I have someone who knows me or do I have someone who doesn't know me? Well, if you're going to do someone who knows you, that's good, because they can provide feedback on whether you are like highlighting the main qualities about yourself, because they already know who you are. And yeah, then if they know the story already, then they can help you like craft that story that you were telling. But I think it is really important to have someone that you actually don't know or don't know as well review your essay, because they're reading it with completely fresh eyes. And what are the college admissions officers? Unknown people to you, so they're going to be reading it with fresh eyes too. So you need to make sure that this story even like makes sense to them, and that you are hitting all the points that you want to hit, and that all of it is clearly communicated to the person who is reading your essay. And yeah, here's a link for my info. Okay, there are also so many tons of revising tips on my YouTube channel. Like I could talk literally forever about this stuff, because there are so many mistakes that people often make when writing. A lot of like even just like English and grammar kind of stuff that you wouldn't really think about, but actually matters. That's more in like this this video. This is like storytelling stuff, more tips, questions you should be asking yourself, general questions that people always ask me, which you can check out on my YouTube. And then, oh, I don't know why this guy got cut off, but then you have the final draft. Oh, there he is. At the very end of the revising process, you will most likely feel it in your gut and you'll be satisfied because congratulations, you finished your college essay. So I actually finished quite early, but it's okay. I have another slide after this. Here are all my resources and stuff. I'm actually going to skip this for a second and then come back to it just because I want to touch on my frequently asked questions, which a lot of students ask all the time, and you probably are wondering the same thing. First of all, what distinguishes a sob story from a college essay that truly highlights one's overcoming a hardship? So I know a lot of people are like, oh, but I didn't get hit by a car, but I didn't have a family member who died. Like, how can I write a college essay? Hello, first of all, you don't need to have those things in order to write a college essay that is good. Anyone can write an amazing college essay, even if you think that you're just like an average person. But even if you do have a sob story, focus on the change and the growth more than the actual problem. Instead of just stating all your struggles, you want to emphasize how this influenced you as a person, because ultimately they are trying to understand who you are and your values, right? Because you don't want them to just read your draft and be like, okay, this person's just kind of dropping all their life problems on me. I don't know what to do with this. You need to say, like, I recognize this. Here's how I'm addressing it. And it also doesn't have to be like a specific action, like, oh, I joined this club, or oh, I started this business. It doesn't have to be anything like that. It can honestly just be a shift in mindset a lot of the times, like the way that you approach a problem in your mind and the way you think of things. That can change your whole life, honestly. So here's another question. Do all of your essays have to fall under one theme? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Use these essays to showcase multiple parts of yourself. I think that is wonderful. I don't think everyone has to be one thing, like, oh, I only study computer science. That is all that I want, period. Like, no. So I think it's good to reference certain themes throughout, though, and make connections between your interests, because this will help your application stay cohesive. Because there's a difference between like having a scattered application, which you do this and that, but like nothing's connected. It's like there's just a bunch of different activities and stuff, which I felt like that was me because I was interested in like art, tech, theater, helping kids, education, psychology, like so many things. But I strategized my application, even though I had all these different interests, and I tied it all together. I used different connections throughout. So I was making like hidden references in my essays to like other interests, like hinting at like, oh, we used to solve math puzzles. And it's like, oh, she likes math, like that kind of thing. And tying in like how art relates to tech and how I can use theater in, just making those connections is so important and can help your application stay cohesive. Okay, what advice would you give to account for the impact of COVID-19 on our applications? So, colleges will not be paying close attention to your test scores and grades. I mean, they will, but not like as closely as before, because they understand that we are all experiencing this pandemic. They are looking for ways that you have provided service for others during this time, and they also encourage you to list family contributions like caring for siblings or sick family members or taking on work to provide family income. That is all very important to list. More than ever, your values as a person, shown through your essays, mean more than the activities that you do, because they understand that, a lot of programs, activities, things you were going to do over the summer got canceled. It's fine. Happened to everyone. Will I be put at a disadvantage if my school doesn't offer certain advanced classes or opportunities? No, colleges take into consideration the resources that you have available to you. They compare you against the other students in your school. So, for example, like AP classes is often a common one this question falls under. Like if your school does not offer any AP classes, you're not going to be directly compared with someone who has so many AP classes available to them, because that's just not fair. You don't have that access. But you will be compared to the other people in your school and seeing, based on what you have available to you, how are you taking advantage of what's available to you. And if you do want to read my accepted essays, they are all on YouTube. I will admit that, like, I don't think my essays are 1000% perfect. I got in to schools, but there's so much more work that can always be done, I feel like, and more tips that I learned, especially this year. And I think that I could have written some of them better. And so that's why I want to help you write them better. All right. So that is a frequently asked questions. Here is everything. And I can now start taking questions. So I luckily do have the chat, so I can read them unless you want to read them. What do you?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I can read.
I mean, I'm okay with anything. So,
Okay, I'll just read them then. Wait, let me get a sip of water.
yeah, I can also read some of the ones from the RSVP forum. Um,
Okay, well, let's start with the ones in the
yeah,
chat
yeah.
first. Okay, where can we find specific info on colleges and their programs? Are there other resources we should use other than the college website? Honestly, I'm just gonna say the college website. There is so much more than you think there is in their college websites. I often will like look at a college website and everyone sees the homepage. Everyone sees the homepage on the majors, blah, blah. But like, start digging, like, be an investigator. You can find so much if you dig into the depths of the internet. So like, click on their majors, but then click on like the course requirements, then click on the courses, then read up on the courses. Okay, who teaches this course? Look up that teacher. What else do they teach? What have they been doing? Maybe you can reach out to them. I don't know. So there's like so much you can find on the internet, and just digging in their websites and their programs. Like, Stanford's website's kind of endless. Like, I don't even know where to find certain things, but if I just keep clicking around, I will end up in somewhere I never expected and learn about a bunch of information. So that's what I would say. Okay, when did you start writing? If you are a senior in high school, now. Start now if you have not yet. It's kind of getting late in the game, but that's okay. You can push through if you have not started. As for everyone else who's younger, I would say the summer before senior year is a really good time to start doing all of this research, get an understanding of like how you should be approaching it, do the brainstorming, do the structuring of your essays, maybe write a draft. Like, that would be so amazing if you could do that in the summer before your senior year, before classes start and everything gets busy. Yeah. Okay. Okay, how sophisticated should our writing be in our essay? How deep should our stories go? Like, more of a small, insightful experience or more of a life story? Ooh, okay. A lot of questions here. How sophisticated? It depends on you, I feel like. I know some people will be like, don't be sophisticated at all, just be yourself, like personality, blah, blah, which is great. I agree with that. And I think some people have written some really amazing, funny, sassy essays. Doesn't have to be that though, if that's not you. I think if you want to go that like meaningful, sentimental route, go that route. It's all based on you, but you don't have to make it like professional. Definitely not. You can throw in some like teasers here and there, like in a parentheses, like add a little extra thing that maybe provokes a laugh, but don't try to do that necessarily, because sometimes it seems like you are just trying to make them laugh rather than like genuinely just being funny. So yeah, based on your own personality. How deep should our stories go? Small, insightful experience or more of a life story? I think focusing on one ish story is really good to do, rather than your life story. Actually, I would say don't do your life story unless it's connected by one theme. See, it's like one story or one theme. That's kind of what we're going for here. So I think in both cases they're thematically tied. Thematically tied is the most important thing that you need to think about when doing this college essay writing. because they don't need your life story. It doesn't need to be like, I grew up in this town and then I did art and then I'm just telling my life story. And then I went to middle school in this other place. And then I went to an arts high school and then I was also interested in math. Like, I don't need to go touch on every part of me and then like my family and blah, blah, blah. Like, that doesn't matter unless that is the story you're trying to tell and there is a theme, running theme throughout it. Maybe it's your family, maybe it's the fact that you like art. Like, create those running themes, but you don't need to tell your whole life story. I think a very specific, so I wouldn't say small insightful experience, but I would say specific insightful experience is important, and that would be nice. Okay, how can you really show and tell in the UCPIQ since there is such a limited word count and they tend to have to be more straightforward? Yeah, I'm a big advocate for anecdotes. I think in any essay, like supplementals, UC essays, ComApp, like literally essay, I use an anecdote because I just really love them. And that is where you can show, don't tell. So it can just be a little paragraph at the top where you can show, and then tell the rest of the way. I am cautious saying that though, because it's not necessarily tell, because there's a lot of telling, which is like, we started the club and then we got more people and then we had a fundraiser and then we did this. And it's like, that doesn't feel like engaging and flowing in the writing itself, but you can still be telling in a different way that is more engaging, but not necessarily like, I was in the room, then I took my pen and I said it, like it doesn't have to be that specific. Definitely specific. So yeah, I hope that answered the question. I like anecdotes. That's what I'm saying. Are extracurricular activities weighted as heavy as essays in the college application? So it depends. It depends on the school. I actually do have videos on my channel that like show charts of like every school. I do a lot of the main privates and then the UC schools of like what is most to least important in their college admissions, and every school is different. So if you do want to see that, it's up on my channel. But I do want to say that like those videos are using the 2019 data, I think, so it does not account for COVID. So keep that in mind. Yeah, so that's my answer. It's different for each school. What are some of the most memorable essay topics you've read about? Oh boy. I think I love when there's metaphors, like one that tied like music and politics together. That was really nice. There was one about like some girl's doll, but it like represented a girl, the like American girl that she was tried so hard to be. That was really amazing, and tied it in with her mother. My friend who's at Stanford did another metaphor essay where she's like on a plane, but like as she's looking down and seeing the world get like closer and closer, that's a metaphor for like understanding people's stories and not just like seeing them as they are, but like actually understanding their cultures and their identity and that kind of stuff. I think those are really powerful. But there's also ones that aren't metaphor driven. Like my essay wasn't metaphor driven, even though like I wouldn't say my essay is my favorite essay. Yeah. What makes an essay story stand out from the others? Yeah, that's kind of a hard question to answer, but I think my answer for that is kind of everything I said in this presentation. Especially like those personal details. Absolutely. Personal details. And your perspective, your mindset. That's like super important. How you think the way that you think, because not everyone thinks the same. I'm having a really hard time choosing the prompts when the supplementals offer a lot of options because I don't know if I should choose a creative theme, like the Hawaiian word moholeo. Oh my God, I'm so sorry if I pronounced this wrong. That one translated as story, but I can also refer to history, legend. Oh my gosh. Okay, okay, I lean towards the second one, that creative, but I worry it won't stand out. Do you have any advice? Okay, for essays or supplementals that ask you to do a bunch of different prompts, I feel like you just have to go with your gut in what is the story that you can tell that most fits you and can like provide the most insight about you. Another thing that crosses my mind when I think about this is using the same essay for multiple schools, because you might write about a supplemental for one school, and can you pick one of those that will fit with an essay that you've already written for another school? That would be nice. Um, I would honestly just try sketching outlines of each of those prompts of like, what am I going to write about for this? And then like jot it down, do the other one, and then take a step back and look at all three of them and be like, okay, which one makes the best essay? That will really help. Especially for you, Chicago. Okay.
Before we move
Yeah.
on to the next question, someone actually private messaged a question. Do you recommend doing a small title that represents the theme and is insightful?
Yes. So if I'm completely honest, I did not do a title. I did not know anything about titles when I was going about the college application process, but I have heard that it does make your essay stand out, and it is a really nice touch to add in the beginning. So absolutely. Yeah, if yours fits for that. This is so loud. Is it better to write about your different academic interests in the personal essay or the supplement? Oh, I would say the supplementals for like your different academic interests, because I mean, it depends. It really depends on you and like what you is the main thing that you are about. But the personal essay, I love it more when it's about like something that's personal, like a truly impactful experience that you went through. I think those stand out way more than just talking about like your love for science or something like that. But if that is the route you want to take, absolutely go for it. And there is no shame in that at all. And I think there's been some really amazing essays that do that. But I do think the supplementals are nice places to share your different interests and stuff like that. How many drafts? That all depends on you. Honestly, I don't think there's a set number of drafts at all. Yeah, just keep going until you feel it in your gut. And if you want like that extra approval, maybe ask your not friend, maybe friend, your parents, maybe, or another counselor or teacher or something. Cool. Anyone else?
Someone also chatted, do we need to contact college counselors before applying to colleges? And if so, what questions should we ask them?
By college counselors, what do you mean? Do you mean like admissions officers at the actual colleges, or are you talking about like people who are going to help you out with your application? Maybe you can like put that in the chat or say it if you want. But I guess I can answer both, sort of, maybe. In terms of contacting the admissions officer at that specific college, I refrain from doing that. I've heard some things that are like, you should do that so your like name stands out, blah, blah. But like, then I also heard stuff that was like, they get tons of emails like that. It just comes off as annoying. They don't care about that. Give or take either one you want to take from that, because I personally can't necessarily say, but I personally chose to stay away from emailing those people. But if that is something you want to do, then absolutely go for it. If you want to email like a teacher, that might be a good idea. Just like maybe get some more insight into the school, their classes, what they teach, their philosophy, anything like that. It's really nice.
Another question I got is, should we submit a resume to colleges?
Once again, I don't really know because I've never really heard of anyone doing that. So I'm kind of leaning against no, or leaning towards no, because you have your activities and awards section, which is kind of your resume. So I feel like anything that you put on your resume would just be restating the same information. But if there is extra information that you didn't get to say in your activities or awards section, you can put that in the additional info section. which I did not do. And now that I reflect on this, I'm like, wait, I had other cool things that I could have shared with them, but no one knew about it. But that's okay.
I haven't gotten any more chats. Erica, have you?
Nope, looks like that's pretty much all the questions we have. Does anyone else have any other questions? Last call for questions.
Oh, never mind. Yeah, and if you guys want to contact me, it's all on the screen. So that's everything you need to know for anything else. And I'd be happy to help out. I'm just sitting in my room. Oh yeah, portfolio related? Absolutely, go for it. Oh, I submitted art portfolios, mostly drawing portfolios and design, sort of like drawing, visual art stuff. Like the artist statement, what should I write about? Ooh, I think, well, at least for, I did an artist statement for Stanford and for UC San Diego, I think. They actually said in their question, like some things that you can write about. I'm kind of like trying to jog my memory as I'm speaking, but I think definitely it is on the theme of your work. If there is a running theme throughout, that would be really awesome to talk about. And the meaning of the work is also like very important. A lot of times, college especially, it's not about making things pretty anymore. It's not about, oh, I like art because I like to make this pretty thing. Like, yay, I can hang it on my wall. It's not about that. It's about the depth and the meaning of what this represents in society and like in the world and what we go through and like that emotional, like all of that stuff is so important. I learned that in art school. I learned that in college, especially. They care about the meaning. So really elaborate on the meaning. That is excellent to do. Also, the process of you creating and maybe like the materials is nice too. Like what physical processes went into creating the work. Inspirations, absolutely. Like what maybe there's like specific eras, time eras, or art movements that inspire you, or like specific artists, specific works that inspire you. That would be nice to include as well. I do have a private message. Would you be willing? Another time. Oh, never mind. I will handle that separately. Okay. What about being a student at Boston University most excites you? Is this a way of saying why us? Yes, I think so. Reading that question, yeah, because they say their name specifically. They're like about us, about our school. It's very much like, tell us why you like us. Yeah. How do you make a personal statement appeal to every college you're applying to? Make a personal statement appeal. Well, personal statement is less about the college. Personal statement is very much not about like, and here's why you should accept me into college. It's more about, this is my story, this is who I am. And that's what they care about. So it should be able to apply to like every school everywhere, because it's not about the school. It's not about you as a student. It's about you as a person. Yeah. And then the supplementals are really, so you can like specify for those colleges' likings.
All right, it looks like that was pretty much our last question. Does anyone else have any more questions? Scrolling through. Okay, looks like that's pretty much it. So thank you so much, everybody, for coming. If you want to reach out to Dyllen, she has all of her information over here. And I believe Dyllen mentioned a discount on one of her programs as well. Dyllen does have her own business for helping students with their college applications. So please go check that out. And thank you so much for coming.
Woohoo!
All right.